From the first step to the final phase, industrial and commercial electrical done right. This is Casey Hendrickson on News Talk 95.3, Michiana's News Channel, your breaking news and weather station.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's News Channel. I am your host, Casey Hendrickson. We're going to talk about Dominion voting systems here. We're going to talk about some other things that deal with voter fraud and all of that. We're going to do all of that here in just a couple of minutes. So I just want everybody to be aware of that. All right, so let's go through this, shall we? Now, I want to take you back in time, okay? Back in time, just a little bit. This is the Washington Examiner. I'm going to walk you through a little bit of a timeline here on Dominion. The Dominion voting systems, which has been used in multiple states, I think it's in 28 states, where fraud has been alleged in the 2020 U.S. election, was rejected 3 times by data communications experts from the Texas Secretary of State and Attorney General's office for failing to meet basic security standards. Now, a lot of people have really asked me to talk about this because my background is in network systems administration and security. This is what I used to do for a living. So when you would go ahead and process a transaction with a company or something like that, I was the guy that built their network, secured their network, monitored their network, that sort of thing back in the day. So I have some knowledge on this. I also used to dabble in the dark side of computers when I was a teenager and in my early 20s outside of the military. So again, there is some expertise coming from this that I just want you to understand. And people who know that have been asking me about all of this. Now, I haven't done network systems administration in a long, long time, and I'm certainly behind in modern technology, but I can give you the basic overview of what can happen. And there's been a lot of, when they started going with the electronic voting machines, right? And they were touting them as 100% secure, they can't be hacked, they can't be this, they can't be that. And here I was, at the time, working in information security technology. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, they can. And I was explaining it. And I had election officials calling me in Las Vegas going, these can't be hacked. And I said, yes, they can. And eventually, those systems, I don't remember the name of them, those systems ended up getting hacked by a teenager in a matter of minutes. And everybody was like, oh. See, there's a lot of, with respect, and I mean this with all respect, please understand this. There's a lot of senior citizens involved in the election mechanism, and a lot of them don't understand the technology that is involved. And somebody who's a good salesman comes along and says, this system is going to make your life a lot easier. Struggling to get volunteers? Good news. You can now run an election center with half of the people that you usually have. And it's going to go faster. It's going to go quicker. You can serve more of the public. More people will be able to vote. No long lines. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. Totally secure. Nobody can hack this thing. And a person who doesn't know any better is going to look at this and go, oh my, this is going to make my life so much better. And it won't. So, for the record, I am not against voting machines or a digital process. I'm not against it at all. There's just been a slew of really bad luck, air quotes, with machines that we use in our election system being very vulnerable. And for years, I have highlighted this. There are countless examples of software engineers and computer experts and hackers, whatever you want to label them, on YouTube. By all means, take some time and go look. Posting videos of how quickly they can get into an election system that is used in your precinct to cast your votes and change those votes. One guy went to, I believe he went to Michigan University, and he did a poll in the student lounge or whatever. He did a poll from these Michigan University students on who is better, Michigan or Ohio State. Well, obviously, the Michigan students are going to vote for Michigan. Ohio State won because he manipulated the results on the same machine that is being used in elections all across the United States. Now, am I saying that happened? No. I'm just letting you know that it's possible. And when you start to have thousands of signed affidavits, these are legal affidavits that you can be disciplined by the law, punished by the law for signing, saying that there's some shenanigans going on. You have a duty to respect that and look into it. filter out the liars from the truth tellers, and then decide what ultimately has to happen with that election. That's what a normal human being does. A crazy person says all of these people are lying and there's no proof of fraud, yada, yada, yada. We went over this last week where somebody comes out and says there's no evidence of widespread fraud. Define widespread. That is huge. You can have one county change the election results for an entire state. Perhaps that one county isn't considered widespread fraud. Here's what we know. This is just a basic fact before I continue on Dominion voting systems here. Basic fact. Dominion voting systems used all over the country, 28 states, multiple counties, that sort of thing, okay? Fact. Results have been switched with that system. Fact. More than one election race in more than one state has been affected by that switch. Now, they're saying it's human error. Maybe. So whether it's a software glitch or human error is ultimately somewhat irrelevant. It happened. And if you have human error happening in multiple elections in multiple states, switching the results to the candidate who lost, making them the winner, I'm glad that they've caught all of those ones so far. Have we missed any races where that happened? And if it was human error, apparently the way that the system is drawn up and the instructions or the training or whatever make it highly likely that there's human error, which again calls in question the results in other races. If there's a glitch with the software, there's obviously a much bigger problem. Am I saying that all of that happened? Well, I don't know if it happened on a national scale with Dominion systems. What I can tell you is that several races in several states were switched. Period. That's not up for debate. That happened. Now, was it confined to those incidents? We don't know. And anybody who says, well, it just happened in Antrim County, and then it also just happened in that race in California. Oh, and it also just happened in that other race. Okay. If it happened in multiple places, you have to at least suspect that it happened in more places than just those places. You have to at least look. This is how it works for everything else in society. Okay? What happens when there's a food recall or a product recall? One box has something bad in it. They recall everything. Why do they recall everything? Just in case, even though there's no evidence, just in case it was a bigger problem than they thought. We don't do the same thing for our election results. And I'm not even saying that you have to put on hold the whole process to changing over. I'm just saying it has to be investigated. And we have to figure out ultimately how widespread this really is. So again, the Dominion voting system, after data communications experts in the Texas Secretary of State and Attorney General's office reviewed the system, it was rejected 3 times for failing to meet security standards. Again, am I telling you that Dominion voting systems was compromised? No, because I don't know. Neither do you, by the way. Either way, Dominion says they have no evidence that they were compromised. That's what they say. I don't know if they're right. I don't know if they're wrong. All I can do is present to you the facts. In Texas, it failed a security audit 3 times and was rejected. That's what I can tell you in Texas. I'm not done. Lot more about Dominion voting systems. Here's what I'm not going to do, though. I'm not going to get into the rumors of server raids and things like that in other countries. I'm not getting, because all that stuff is unsubstantiated at this point. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to give you the basic stuff that we know, okay? So all of that extra stuff that you guys keep asking me about and the whole Kraken thing and everything. Look, there's a lot that is happening that even the legal team for Trump is admitting they can't tell the public yet because they're building their case. So there's a lot of rumors. Some stuff has been started by politicians. Some stuff has been started by the internet. I don't know what is true and is not true on those things, so there's no sense in me really going into it. You know, I don't like to do that. But what I will do is I will go through Dominion voting systems' long, rich history of failing security audits and skepticism even among Democrats for potential fraud with this system that a lot of you voted on November 3rd. More coming up, 95.3 MNC.
John Simney, Michiana's Morning News, first thing in the morning on 95.3 MNC.
Now, somebody sent a text message and said Target also told everybody initially they didn't have a data breach several years ago with that big Target breach. So this is true. Look, here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to go over the tinfoil and the practical. So Dominion says they don't have any evidence of a breach in their system. Okay. Maybe they haven't found it yet. Maybe they're lying. Maybe they intended for these glitches to show up and it was an inside job. All right, so therefore there wouldn't be evidence of a breach. I'm just throwing all facets out there. I don't know if there is anything nefarious happening on Dominion's end. What I can tell you is that there is a long-standing concern about them. Texas has routinely and repeatedly not approved Dominion voting systems in their state because they fail security audits. But it's not just Texas, where, by the way, they're not challenging the results. So you've got a, where did this go? Litigation over Smartmatic glitches. Now, Smartmatic is a subsidiary, so they're using Smartmatic software, which plays a huge role in the U.S. election market, by the way, over the past 10 years. So there was a report that was published by UK-based AccessWire. Litigation over Smartmatic, quote, glitches alleges that they impacted the 2010 and 2013 midterm elections in the Philippines, raising questions of cheating and fraud. An independent review of the source code used in the machines found multiple problems, which concluded the software inventory provided by Smartmatic is inadequate, which brings into question the software credibility. Okay, so Dominion and software that they use has been accused of flipping elections in the Philippines in 2010 and 2013, and it has failed security audits in Texas. All right, well, you're starting to run into a bit of an issue. Now, let's just flash forward here to Georgia. Okay, we're looking at Georgia here. And again, this is all important for everybody to be able to pay attention to, just because you never know how these things are going to shake out. And if something is going to shake out wrong, then it has to be corrected. Like I said, I'm not going into the server raids and the secret capturing of votes and things. That hasn't been proven yet, but I can tell you what has happened evidence-wise. Cybersecurity experts raised concern over the integrity of the system, including external vulnerabilities, in a sworn statement. Now, this is before the election in Georgia. This is a lawsuit in the state of Georgia over Dominion voting systems. Software and equipment from Dominion voting systems used in this month's presidential election has been the source of an ongoing controversy, with one legal declaration made by a poll observer of Georgia's statewide primary earlier this year highlighting multiple problems. The Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, announced the state's purchase of a $106 million election system from Dominion Voting Systems back in July of 2019. So the lawsuit, which originated in 2017, contends that the new system was subject to many of the same security vulnerabilities as the one that it was replacing. So Georgia hires Dominion. They bring in $106 million worth of Dominion voting machines to replace an old system that had security vulnerabilities. All right, seems like a logical thing to do. The problem is that Dominion has security vulnerabilities. In an October 11th order, just weeks before the presidential election, District Judge Amy Totenberg agreed with the concerns associated with the new Dominion voting system, writing that the case presented, quote, serious system security vulnerability and operational issues that may place plaintiffs and other voters at risk of deprivation of their fundamental right to cast an effective vote that is accurately counted. Okay, so it fails repeatedly, the audit of the Texas experts on security. It has been accused in a court of law of flipping elections in the Philippines in 2010 and 2013. A Georgia lawsuit in which the judge agreed with the plaintiffs' Dominion voting system causes serious errors in counting. Then you throw in this little tidbit. Are you ready? In 2018 alone, voters in South Carolina were reporting machines that switched their votes after they'd inputted them. Scanners were rejecting paper ballots in Missouri, and busted machines were causing long lines in Indiana, the letter reads. In addition, researchers recently uncovered previously undisclosed vulnerabilities in nearly 36 back-end election systems in 10 states. And just this year, after the Democratic candidate's electronic tally showed he received 164 votes out of 55,000 cast in Pennsylvania state judicial election in 2019, the county's Republican chairwoman said, "Nothing went right on election day. Everything went wrong. That's a problem." The letter then continued. These problems threaten the integrity of our elections and demonstrate the importance of election systems that are strong, durable, and not vulnerable to attack. Where did that letter come from? Well, it's dated December 6th, 2019, and it comes from Elizabeth Warren about Dominion. It is signed Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, Ron Wyden, Mark Pocan. 3 senators, 1 congressional representative, all Democrats, saying that Dominion has an accuracy issue. Okay, let's back up. Dominion Voting Systems has repeatedly failed security audits in Texas, and they won't certify the system. Dominion Voting Systems, in a court of law, has been accused of switching elections and committing fraud in the Philippines in 2010 and 2013. Dominion Voting Systems lost a case in Georgia in which the judge determined that Dominion Voting Systems would not accurately count votes. 4 Democrats in Congress wrote a letter in December of 2019 highlighting security vulnerabilities and glitches and miscounts with Dominion Voting Systems. Dominion donates 96% of its political donations to Democrats. Now, again, I am not telling you that Dominion has committed fraud. I'm not telling you that Dominion has affected the outcome of the election. What I am saying is we know that Dominion has changed votes in this election. We know that Dominion, going back to 2010, has been accused of committing fraud and switching votes in elections in other countries. At the very least, everybody should be concerned that Dominion Voting Systems is compromised and or not accurate. Got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.
This is Michiana's breaking news and weather station.